Danny. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome.
Me too.
So Danny is joining us from the UNFCCC and has been really instrumental and involved with the Accelerator City. Dale, you've been both involved in the Accelerator City from an Ecotricity perspective, for instance, looking at things like feeder pillar production in the city and being involved in Act 1.5 as well. So you may have something there, but also now I was trying to remember the name of this previously, the UN Sports for Climate Action. You're not an ambassador, but a champion of that. So can you tell us how you're working with the UN on that front?
The Sport for Climate Action program. I think we first met to discuss it in Bonn at the COP there, and FGR. I was there, I guess, representing FGR. We were one of the kind of founding partners of that. And, the idea resonated for me because I'd experienced it through football. I had experienced that football actually was a great platform for reaching fans of football in this case, and actually bringing to them this message about the environment, about the things that needed to change, and showing them how they could change their own lives, and actually found that it worked. And the program itself is just a bigger version of that, and it's about reaching the billions of sports fans on this planet and making them fans of the environment too. And we've seen that at Forest Green. We went from a ground zero start in 2010 where everybody said, look, you'll kill the club, nobody will come, nobody will eat the food, and all that kind of stuff, to a place where the club is thriving. We have 4 times as many people come to games as we had before. We sell 10 times as much food. But even more importantly, I would say, we've taken the industry of football from a place of disbelief in what we were doing and denial to a place where everybody's got on board. You look at Premier League football clubs in our country now, they've all got some kind of environment statement, some kind of environment action. And the UN program, I just think is one of the most important things that I've been fortunate to be involved in, because it reaches across all sports, all around the world, to reach these billions of people. And I think that kind of grassroots approach is really fundamental to how we tackle this crisis.
And then you've both got a lot of, or some degree of COP experience. Dale, you were at COP 3, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
And then Danny, I don't know when you first started on
COP 10 is my first COP, so I'm late.
And then you're from Brazil and part of UN, and then COP is in Brazil next year. So I'd be really interested just to get both of your takes on kind of where COP is at now, your hopes for the next one. Should we be hopeful?
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. Dale, you want to
And what was your
because you're COP 3.
All right.
Please.
Thank you. But it's COP 30, isn't it, this year?
Yes.
So that's quite neat from my perspective, numerically. I've always been optimistic about COPs, and I think every time we have one, there are people that say, well, nothing really happened, and there are people that say, actually, something did happen, and something quite fundamentally important. At COP 3, it was the first time the world came together and agreed carbon targets. And that was fundamental, but the target was really tiny. And a lot of NGOs were focused on the size of the target rather than the fact that we had a target for the first time. So that's what I took from COP3. And I think my attitude is we can't ever give up. And so I've big hopes for COP30, as I have big hopes for every COP, even the one that Johnson hosted in Glasgow, which turned out to be a little bit of a train smash visibly, but underneath it all, that there were more commitments for annual reporting, for example, which made a fundamental difference. And so every COP moves us further down the path.
Absolutely. And then I want to talk about the role of events, art and culture in climate action, essentially, and sports as well, like how that can help to move people. I think that's quite connected to the idea of generating hope. I think you can both speak to that.
Well, my experience in football is taking a very important message around the environment to a stereotypically, I think most people would say, the most difficult audience you might imagine, football fans, and actually finding that it resonated. Took a little while, but actually, we went in there with a simple approach, just to not to preach or tell people what to do, but to say this is how we're running the club, this is how we're setting the menu, these are the reasons why we're doing all these different things that we do, and leaving it with people just to take that on board themselves. And you know, through the medium of football, I mean, we all have a good time. We got ourselves a couple of promotions and stuff like that. We got a lot of publicity as well for what we were doing. The UN very kindly called us the greenest football club in the world, and that was a nice accolade. And we've seen the change in our fans' behaviour. You know, most games I go to, somebody will come up to me and say that actually Forest Green changed their lives, actually, that they tried vegan food and they may have gone veggie or vegan themselves as a result. People come up. One guy stopped me at the gate a few months ago now, and he said to me, you know, I've gone vegan, I think he said. He said, I've gone veggie, but not quite yet vegan. He said, but I've got an electric car, I've got solar panels, and I'm just about to get a battery for my house. He was very, very pleased with himself with that, and I was like, blimey, I haven't got a battery yet, what are you doing? And our audience completely changed from skeptical to it, you know, it doesn't belong in football, to all the way to, like, they've embraced it in their lives. And that's...
Yeah, and I think while we are very happy to have people like Deo that put it all together, you know, I think that's what we need more. We need more of these stories that we need to inspire people.
Do you have hope for the future, especially in the face of some of the voices who've been given a big amplifier recently? How do you feel on a global perspective? Are we going to be okay?
Wow, I cannot say I'm hopeless. I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful. I've been working so I'm old. I've been working in the climate arena for more than 20 years in the Brazilian government as part of the negotiations. So that's how I went to COP10. But then at the UN climate change for very long. And it moved a lot. When I came in for the first time, people would ask, well, is this a weather channel thing, this climate stuff? And to everyone, in a taxi driver, to people on the street talking about climate. So I think, although we are living in a very difficult political moment, I'm still very hopeful that we can manage, we can go forward with people like you.
Absolutely. Adele, you hopeful?
Yeah, always. I only have hope, actually. But also, I think if you look at it logically, the changes that we're talking about happening and we can see starting to happen, they're inevitable, right? It's an unavoidable force of nature, renewable energy, for example. It's far cheaper than fossil fuels. It will never run out, and it doesn't pollute the air that we breathe. That's inevitable that it will take over our energy systems. Yes, of course, there's a fight back from fossil fuel companies, and the odd president here and there pops up, and then we'll be gone. But, you know, I was at COP3 in Kyoto and put on a suit to infiltrate a meeting of the big and the bad of global industry, the car makers, the oil companies. They had a meeting every morning to carve up the entire day's sessions, and somebody would go to every session as a disruptor. Me and Greenpeace, we sat in this meeting to see them plan their day, and it was about holding back progress. Now, it's not a lot different today, but we've made enormous progress, and that fight will continue until we beat them completely.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you both so much. Can I have a huge round of applause for Danielle?